get things kind of lined up a little better. Well, I can do a little better than that. How's everybody doing today? There we go. Okay. So, hello there. What is going on, everybody? Today, I wanted to do a little bit of a live stream, talk to you guys about Masters of the Universe. There are two big Masters of the Universe board game pushes right now. And while the only one I have in my hand to talk to you about is Fields of Eternia in hand, also you have a Masters of the Universe game for CMON. And this video is going to kind of apply, not a video game, a board game. It's going to apply a little bit to both. So one of the big problems that's going on right now for a lot of fans, and is, well, it's a good problem to have, is that there's two different Masters of the Universe board games, and not everybody can get all of them because they are license locked. They're like region locked, right? And so what does that mean? It means Mattel gave CMON the license for the United States. So that Masters of the Universe board game is only going to be available in the United States. And granted, you can back it from another country. Can I put this like here? Can I fit it? I want it right behind me. I'm going to rearrange on the fly really quick. Here, I'm going to move these. Remove Rebellion. Because I want this like, I want it right there. Yeah. So normally I would do this stuff beforehand, but this is some of the things that happen when we do things live. All right, there we go. Now that looks so much better, doesn't it? Okay, so we got Masters. I got other cool things too, like I guess like the mission book, right? There's scenarios in this game. I'm gonna get to that more in just a minute. But basically, one of the problems is you can't necessarily get it if you're outside of the United States for the CMON one. Now, for the Masters of the Universe Fields of Eternia game that I've already done a preview video on, that one is only available in select European countries. So if you're outside of Europe, you're not getting access to that. Now, what does that mean? Well, it really only applies. It means that Mattel basically wanted to say, all right, we're dividing up, who can get the rights to this, and we kind of want to, it's a market thing. I don't know why they don't just let both of them do it, but I guess because they were coming out at the same time, it would probably be a downer, especially since Archons launched first. Then that could potentially hurt CMON's. But the cool thing is you can totally get them no matter where you are. It's just going to be a little more work. So I want to talk about that today. Basically, there's a couple of different ways that you can get them. And so for this example, I'm going to say if you live in the United States, for example, and you want Fields of Eternia, that is a European-only game. Well, but you just transpose this if you live somewhere else, or if it's the other way around, that maybe you live in Europe and you want the CMON or the CMON version of just Masters of the Universe, the board game. And then I'm going to talk about some differences between those, because CMON has been a little bit secretive about their game, but one thing they have told is kind of how the gameplay is roughly going to be. So I'll talk about that. So if you live in America, like I do, and you want to get this game, there's a couple of ways you can do it. First off is the easiest way, potentially, is just to happen to have a friend in Europe that you trust that you can pledge and then just use their shipping information. Then when they get it, they can turn around and then ship it to you. That's not obviously going to work for everybody, but that is definitely by far and away the easiest way to do this. Maybe you have a friend who has a friend who's going to do it, and maybe they can do multiple pledges, and you can kind of work something like that. Of course, that's asking a lot of your friend, because then they're going to get like a couple of big boxes, and then they may end up having to ship a whole pallet of stuff, to the U.S. So, that could eventually get a little bit crazy, but that's generally the way I would suggest it to work for a lot of people who happen to have friends in the country that, that is eligible to get it shipped. Now, the cool thing about both of these pledge options, whether it's GameFound for Archon's Masters of the Universe Fields of Eternia or Kickstarter for CMON's Masters of the Universe, the board game, is that you can pledge from anywhere. They will take your money no matter where, but they can only ship to those countries. So another option that is going to be probably work for the largest amount of people is to use a parcel proxy service. Now, I have put a link to a parcel proxy service pinned in my Discord's general chat. So if you guys aren't in my Discord already, there's a link to Discord down below. But also there's a link to the Parcel Proxy service directly in the video description. So you know, like that, there are other sites like that, but that's just one example. Basically, it's a service that it's going to cost you a little extra because you're paying somebody to be an extra shipper for you. They're going to receive that game and then they'll ship it to you. So that's another option, and that's just a workaround. Unfortunately, it does make it cost a little bit more because you're paying for an extra service on top of that. But that's, you know, that's just kind of the way that it is. Oh man, there's people doing maintenance in my neighborhood, and I can hear stuff coming through the walls. Everybody's buying all the houses around me, and they're all flipping them and doing all this work, and I think there's roofers somewhere. Anyway, so no, can't get around that. Anyway, the other way is to just simply wait. You went to that site. It says they're not taking new requests at the time. Oh, I didn't. That might be just a newer thing. I haven't seen that already. But I would say keep trying, or just look for other services too. I know that but there's a third option, and it's maybe the most expensive option, but that is basically to wait for it, because you'd have to wait anyway. Waiting for it until after it ships. Once it ships, there's going to be people who back it, who pledge it, and then put it on eBay. There's going to be retail stores in Europe that are resellers that will buy it and then put it up. There's plenty of games that have been, you know, Europe only, like the Star Wars, the Thanos Rising version of Star Wars, the Dark Side Rising. That you just have to go onto some kind of like some kind of EU shop. Like there's a lot of like British shops and stuff like that that have EU specific only games that you have to pay more because they're going to do international shipping, but you can just then buy it from a store who's doing it then. I don't know what the exact availability is going to be like, but that's always another option is basically getting it, you know, through a reseller after the fact, because the license only applies to Archon, doesn't apply to somebody else just buying it from them in Europe and then selling it to you. So there are a lot of different ways that you can do that, and of course that's going to work for CMON as well. If you're looking to get the CMON version and you happen to live over in Europe, you can always use a proxy, have a friend ship it to you, or use like eBay or Miniature Market or Gigabits or something like that, or any of these people that like back these games and get the Kickstarter pledge and then eventually you ship it internationally. That's certainly going to work. Now I want to talk about some of the differences between these games, because I know a lot more about Fields of Eternia because I do have the prototype copy. It's got lots of different characters. You've got all these dashboards, and again, and definitely check out my video preview. You're really going to like it if you're a Masters of the Universe fan. One thing I did not really show is the insert. Like, and this is a prototype, but like, look at this insert. It's pretty spectacular, and what's really cool is like when you take the minis out. You've got the, like, it tells you who goes in where, like right beneath it, which is pretty epic. So let's see, what we also have another tray. So like this whole thing comes out, and this is a tray, and we have another tray underneath for all the cards, tokens, and dice and stuff like that. So just Archon is just really knocking it out of the park with like the presentation of these games, in addition to just the games themselves. And this one has really good gameplay. The other big, as far as the difference is concerned, the minis, like they both look great. CMON's minis look great. I think the Archon minis look a little better, but they're kind of at least in the same ballpark. But I think a big point of distinction here is that Fields of Eternia is a versus game. It's a competitive game. There's, it's like good versus evil. It can actually go up to 3 players too. Now, granted, it says it's 1 to 6 because you can have everybody take control of their own heroes. but I don't think it really works well as like a 2, 3, 4, or 5, or I'm sorry, a 3, 4, or 5 player game. I think it really shines as a 2-player game, right? Because you've got one team versus another team, and if you start, you say, well, you control that hero because you have a shared resources piles. So I just don't feel like it works as well as a as a, I don't know, as a team versus team game, because like one person, like there's very good chances where one person will want to spend your team's money on an upgrade for them, and that uses all the team's money. Then nobody else has anything else. So like when you're playing 1 versus 1, you kind of use like 2 characters as kind of farming characters to gear up one character, And so imagine you're in a 6-player game and you're just one of the farming characters where you don't get to do anything cool. You just be like, I'm gonna go look for money. Oh, it's my turn again. I'm gonna go look for money. So it works really well as a 1 versus 1 game because then you get to manage the team, and that's fun. Plus you can do all that and then you could like die and maybe lose that big awesome thing that you have. So like I don't think it works as well as teams. But the cool thing is, even though in this base game it's just 1 versus 1 kind of, it's like He-Man and his allies versus Skeletor and his allies. There's also other races. So you can get Hordak and the Horde, and then there's the Lizardmen, which I think were from like one of the reboots of Masters of the Universe. I never really saw the Lizardmen growing up. So there's actually going to be 4 factions, but the map has enough starting spaces for 3 teams to start. So it can be a really good 3-player 4X kind of game where all of you are out there potentially fighting each other, and so like that is going to be really cool. So I'm hoping to get maybe a full review copy of this at one point so I can take a look at the other factions and then actually play a 3-player. I think it would completely rock as 3-player. And I suppose I could still do it 3-player with the stuff that comes in the base game because there's more than enough minis to do that. I'd have to proxy some of the extra components though. But CMON's game is largely going to be a co-op. And now this one can be co-op too. There's an AI system, so you could go against the AI. So it could be solo or co-op also. But CMON's is kind of like just a dedicated cooperative game. And I think that's going to be a problem for some folks. Granted, some people really do like cooperative games. The problem I have is that there's too many cooperative games, and like I've got enough. Like Zombicide for me is like the ultimate cooperative game, and I don't really need a whole lot more. There's so many games that are like these cooperative games, like work against the computer system or work against the AI system, and everybody wins or everybody loses, and and the problem with those is that it's just you're not strategizing against each other, and and those can be really good for like gateway games, and you're like, hey, come play this co-op with us. It's okay if you don't know what to do. We'll help you make your decisions. Like that's cool, but then that person's really not playing the game. So if you really want to have a game night with fellow gamers, a co-op isn't always seen as a really nice thing because you're not really playing. There's usually an alpha gamer who's like, all right, here's the strategy we need to follow. Everybody needs to do this. And then nobody really gets to play the game other than like the mastermind. So that's my problem with co-ops in general. So I really like that Fields of Eternia is a head-to-head game and a competitive game. And so I feel like that works really, really well. Plus, it can be fun to play as the villains. Now, I haven't seen a whole lot more of CMON's games, so I don't know much about the way the map is going to look and the way some of the other mechanics are going to look. But this one has great area control mechanics. It also has some deck building with some of the epic combat. So I really, really liked it. Again, I talk about all that in my actual video preview. But yeah, so I just wanted to talk about that a little bit. There's been a lot of Masters of the Universe news going on. There's been a lot of Masters of the Universe. There's the Netflix Masters of the Universe Revelation. There's apparently a whole nother Masters of the Universe show coming out on Netflix called He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. That one looks like it's going to have a slightly younger target audience. So, but yeah, so I'm curious if any of you guys have seen, if you're following these, how many of you guys are Masters of the Universe fans? Are you looking at, are you looking at backing any of these games? And if you had any of those concerns, like, hey, I live in the United States, I want this one. Hopefully some of those options will work out for you, because there definitely are ways to get it. but it's generally going to cost more because you're having to pay for international shipping, and you may have to pay a third party to get that game and ship it to you. One of the cool things I found though is that Archon usually ships pretty fast. They do their production in-house, so they're so when they they don't usually have to wait for like boats from China to come in, whereas a lot of other companies have to wait years sometimes for shipping and for everything like that to work out. On this side of the house, we get a really cool kind of change of pace where that boats are really not an issue. So we see you backed Fields of Eternia, but you canceled it. Hopefully you can get it later. Yeah, I mean, I suppose. It's a shame. I hope you can find somebody to ship it to you, because it's it looks like a cool game. But yeah, the other option is to simply just wait until somebody puts a pledge out there, and then you can pick it up on the whether it's through another store. And Archon can easily do reprints too. So if a lot of Americans want it and they're buying it up on the aftermarket, I'm sure Archon will be able to reprint it, and because they do their printing in house. So, and they've had really nice minis. I looked at the Wolfenstein game, and that one was pretty awesome also. So I actually broke my He-Man miniature while we were sitting here. Well, it didn't really break, it just kind of came out of the base, because they kind of pre-glue these when they assemble them to you, and this isn't being just a prototype, it just has like a light dab, so it kind of came out, and I'm gonna put it back in. This happens with a lot of these games that come pre-assembled, is they glue them in there. We were playing CMON's Marvel United last night, and one of my kids broke one of the minis. It just came right out, but it was a really clean break, just like this. Like they come out right, like the foot pegs are still attached and everything. And I'm like, oh, that's not really a break. It was just kind of the glue loosened up a little bit. So the good news about that is that it's a really easy fix. So yeah, he is fixed, and now he is drying. All right, well, kind of a shorter stream today. Just wanted to talk a little bit about how to get that, because I know in my video I didn't talk specifically about the countries that Masters of the Universe was going to be available in, and the reason for that was I wanted the video to be primarily a preview and focusing on the game and the gameplay rather than the shipping aspect of it. And then the second aspect was I didn't have a list of what countries it was going to be available in at the time. I knew it was going to be select European countries, but I didn't want to say all of Europe or this country and that country, and then find out that it's only like, that some of my assumptions had been changed. So at the time that I created that video, because I had to create it in advance, I did not know exactly which countries. I mean, I knew it wasn't going to be the United States, but my channel isn't just for the United States. So in the interest of not having misinformation out there, I just opted to refer people to the page, and that would give them the information. I did also put a sticky thread in that video as well. So all right. So anyway, hopefully you guys found this helpful, and share this with your friends if you see them talking about it, because I wanted to talk a little bit about, like, it's not like there's no hope if you don't live in the country that has the Masters of the Universe game that you want. There's 3 options right away, and also by all means, like write to them, let them know that you're interested into it too. Post on social media and stuff that you're interested. Maybe that will inform how much they make, how many retailers are able to get this game and ship it overseas. I do think that Fields of Eternia is going to be the superior game, primarily because of the fact that it's head-to-head. And having played it already, I'm actually really impressed with the quality of the gameplay and the narrative aspect in it. It really works. It really does what it's supposed to do. And not a lot of games do that, so I'm very pleased with that. All right, guys, that's going to do it. I want to thank you all for hanging out. I will talk to you guys later. And as always, have a great day, and make sure not to drop your board games on your feet when barefoot in the desert with no clothes on and you're out of water.